How are you doing? I'm Tony McGee, and welcome to our show. This is our second annual Hire Military Vet Show, and it's sponsored by Geico, but it's hosted by the Association of the United States Army as well as Caliber Systems. And what we're trying to do is help vets to get jobs. And if you see anything you like on this and you want to be a part of it, the next one you can be. So get ready to enjoy a show. We will not just be talking about the Washington Redskins. We'll be talking about vets as well. We'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, I just saved a whole lot of money by switching to Geico.
Huh. We should take a closer look at Geico.
You know, Geico insures way more than cars, boats, motorcycles, even RVs.
Geico insures RVs? What's an RV?
The thing we've been stuck on for 5 years?
Wait, I'm not a real moose?
We've been over this, Jeff.
We're stickers.
I'm not a real moose.
Give him some space.
Deep breaths, Jeff.
What's a sticker?
Take a closer look at Geico. Great savings and a whole lot more.
Welcome back to the show, and as I told you before, this is our Hire a Vet Challenge show, and we are glad to have some great players that played with the Washington Redskins to be our host this day. Let me start with number 89, Santana Moss. He had 732 catches. I tell you, when he came here to the Washington Redskins, he changed the whole passing game, and I tell you what, he's a superstar within his own self. Santana Moss. Next I have, see, they say when you're important, you don't have to use the whole name, so I call him G. His name is Gary Clark. But I tell you what, when he came into the locker room, it was a cool breeze following because he was the man. He had 699 catches during his time. He came here as a receiver, and he left as an all-pro tight end. Oh, no, receiver. Gary Clark. Then Dexter Manley, y'all have heard from Dexter, and I tell you one thing I always like to talk about with this guy is, when I came in, he ran 4 540s, if you know what that is, a 40-yard dash, and he benched 500 pounds. One year he had 18 and a half sacks. He was an all-pro. I tell you what, this young man could play. Dexter Manley. And last but not least, I welcome to you to the professor. He just got his master's a few days ago, and not only that, he was a studious player as well. He went to 4 Pro Bowls. He was the guy that really took my place, but he deserved to take it. And this team has never been the same since these two guys were on the team. I'm talking about Charles Mann. Welcome to the show, guys. Now, you know why we're here. What we want to do is we have this job fair each and every year, and we want to get the vets hired, and I thank Geico for being the sponsor of this, and we're allowed to be down here at the Association of the United States Army and Caliber, they're hosting it. And I tell you, the one thing that's good about this, we had at least 28 to 30 companies here, and we had 150 vets here. So we hope that something come out of it good. And I always try to relate to the story why we're NFL vets, and you guys are military vets. Now, you guys were fighting for our freedom. We were fighting for entertainment, but we both come out of our careers with the same kind of problems. And I think we can kind of relate in a lot of different ways. Now, let's get to the ugly part of this show. We have to talk about the Washington Redskins. Maybe
Donna? Are we talking about Donna?
Donna, yeah, Donna Hopkins. And then I'll be introducing her in a little bit. She said she got something for us. Is that what it was? I tell you what, if you watched anything on Sunday, and you guys, all of you been involved with it when we were winning and going to playoffs and stuff, tell me, what was that, Charles? What was that on Sunday? I mean, to me, and I'm gonna just be straight up with it, it looked like they quit.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, you want to play for something, and typically you play for pride at that point. But you want to play for something, and it looked like in the first half, at least this year, we started very fast, typically. I don't think we started fast at all in this game, and that was indicative of what we saw in the early part of the game. And I will tell you, I'm going to be honest, I was flicking it back and forth to the Philly game.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did, because
man,
it was just more exciting. I'm serious. It was a contrast. When I flick it back and flick it, I never did that before. My wife walked in and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "This thing it's hard to look at."
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you look at it position-wise, and one thing that I didn't see on Sunday, guys, and one of you wide receivers can tell me that they seemed they couldn't get consistent of going to a receiver or making something happen. I've never seen our offense struggle as bad as it did on Sunday.
That's some of the things that they've been doing all season. You know, one of the true points of this situation that we're in offensively and with the whole team-wise, that we haven't found a guy to really be the guy. You know, we've been waiting on Dawson, and I think he is the future. I think sooner or later he's going to be that guy. But I think they're missing one of those veterans in that locker room or in that meeting room that can lead those guys. You have a young Dawson who's only been in the league 2 years. Last year he didn't play. Now he's the starter. And you have a Crowder, 3 years, been performing on a high level for the last 2 years. This year he's kind of been hurt, so he's been up and down. You still need one of those veterans in there that those guys can look at and say, well, this is how I'm supposed to prepare. This is how I'm supposed to play. And they don't have that. So when you're looking for leadership, you have a guy like Jordan Reed who you count on to be your guy, your number one target on offense, who hasn't been available all season long. So I think in the passing game, they're missing one of those veterans like the years that we've been there, that you can always look at that guy and depend on him to just lead by example or be able to give some of those young guys, you know, something to
But let me ask you
on.
this. When you guys were there, and even when you guys on defense were there, you had a good running game, Gary. And that's the one thing that seemed to have slipped away from this organization. The foundation of our team when I was here and other teams, when we ran the ball well, even though you receivers were great, you got to have that foundation of a running game.
Well, when I was there, when I first came to the Redskins, we had Riggo, we had George Rogers, so we had a running game, and then the running game helped the passing game. By the time I left there, the passing game helped the running game. So it's key that you can have a passing game, but your passing game should help your running attack. If that's your primary thing. By the time I left there, passing was our primary resources. You had me, you had Art, you had Ricky. So we passed the ball to set up the run, but our running backs all got 1,000 yards.
The difference, though, is your offensive line was set, and every now and then you had one or two different parts added, but this offensive line has been decimated, and I don't like using injuries as an excuse.
You can't.
Because it's mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. You just go out there and play. And I don't think the guys, and I'm not questioning anybody's injuries, but I just don't think that this day and age, they're playing through stuff that we played through.
But you also got to have people that your depth chart. Like, you got to remember, when we play Super Bowl 22, the person on the sideline in street clothes is Mark Rippon. That's how deep we were.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the perfect example, they come here, when they first come to Washington, they had good defensive end. You come here, guess what? If one missed a beat, you step in, we didn't miss a beat.
Exactly.
It's important that you are that deep with your talent, and that's on the drafting or the getting of talent into your organization that if I lose my job, I should be scared. If I leave because of injury, I should be scared that I'm not going to get my job back because the person behind me is just as good or better than I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's missing.
But wait, and it seemed to me when they did, even though that offensive line was a lot of different people, they ran the ball better with that second offensive line than they did with the first offensive line. My true, and the one thing about it, Charles, you said is true. Injuries are not an excuse, and that's not an option.
But
because
everybody's using that.
I know, but everybody go in there on Monday and get a check. So if you go in there and get a check, you supposed to be able to play. If you can't play, get somebody in that can play. And that's what I look at with this team. They got too many people that worried about how they look. Well, Dexter used to do that in practice too. But they worried about how they look, but he produced in the game instead of playing ball. And I don't care who gets hurt. Yeah. And like Gary said, we were afraid to get hurt. I played 14 years, like I told y'all, out of 204 games, I played 203. Wow. And the one I missed, I didn't have to miss. So you can't tell me, and that's what I want to come to and ask you guys. It seems as though since they've changed the collective bargaining, and you can't have the good training camp, and you can't hit. You guys remember in Gibbs, if you didn't run the ball well, then you got half line, or you got a whole line. You had to scrimmage that week. They've changed that, and they're trying to protect players, but it seems like you have more injuries now than you ever had.
Well, I think a lot of for that reason is that they want to try to cut down on the concussion, the banging, hitting, so they have to go shorts and T-shirts, because the physical contact, you don't have to hit head, just hitting shoulder pads and jog the brain a little bit. So I think that's what they want to sort of protect from this concussion thing. So that's why the game has changed. It's not physical like when we were with the Redskins. It was 8 man on 8, and you better bring your lunch kit because
they're not used to the collision. They're not used to the collision. At some point in
Right.
time, your body get used to the collision, and so therefore, guess what? It hurts the first time. About the 100th time, it doesn't hurt anymore.
And when you talk about changing your game, we have to change ours now. You heard Gary say a little bit earlier that we had someone on the show. This young lady has been with us for 18 years. And I tell you what, Gary acts like she still don't know anything, but she does. So let's see what Donna Hopkins have to say.
I'm not listening to Gary anyway, but let me give you some stats about Sunday's game against the Chargers. No painting a pretty picture here, because in the first quarter, they had 10 first down, that is the Chargers. By halftime, they had 354 total yards. The Redskins defense gave up 488 yards, and the offense couldn't even muster 210 yards. They had 201 yards. So you look at this team, they've been making mistakes over and over. And Charles, I just want to throw this out. Injuries has played a little bit because the Redskins have 15 people on IR, and 11 of them are starters. And like you said, Jordan Reed has been out for 6 straight games. Monty Nicholson for 3 with the concussion. So injuries have played a little bit in that, but it's no excuse. But my question to you all, has this team quit? 10 games they had to get ready for this game, and they showed up like that in the last 2 games. Back to you all.
Now, I tell you what, that's a great point.
Yeah.
They had 10 days to get ready. And I know we're going a little bit over, Mike, so don't get nervous. But they had 10 days to get ready. Then they go out there and you don't see the effort that you need to see. And as she said, the injuries don't mean anything because everybody gets paid. They're professionals.
You know what happens? When you lose, you begin to shine a light on everything. So if they weren't losing, we wouldn't be shining the light as bright as we're shining it. So I'm starting to look at the top because I like top-down strategy. So I'm looking at the top. I'm looking at Jay Gruden and saying, is he the right guy for the position? And the reason why I say that is, and I'm only saying that because we're shining the light because they're not winning, is he too soft? If I were coaching, would I allow a Jordan Reed to sit for 6 weeks? Or would I have done something? As good a player as he is, would he still be in my organization? You got to start making tough decisions like that. And I'm not, so that's my point.
Didn't he make that point, though, with receiver? He said he wasn't going to let him get on the field until he proved he deserved to be there. So I agree with you. He need to do the same thing with Jordan Reed because he's too important to this team.
And I don't want to just point out Jordan Reed. I want to start with Jay Gruden first. Because I'm telling you, Santana, I'd be putting my foot in some people if they wasn't playing for me.
You know, I think the main issue, though, when you're talking about starting up top, that's a good start because you have to start up top. If you're not performing and I'm a head coach, then you have to look at the head coach because I have to almost strict firing these guys to make sure they go out there and perform for me.
Thank you.
So if you're not doing that throughout the week, you're not going to get it done on Sunday. And if you listen to that, to the post interviews, DJ Swearn just said it. He's like, I can't get everybody prepared. I got to worry about self. Now we all individuals, we all grown, and we all professionals. These guys should be able to do it. So when I heard that, that makes me believe that he's not happy with how they practicing and they're preparing. So I think that the coach needs to be looked at, and I think he needs to change his format of how he get these guys ready.
I don't want to be everybody's friend. At the end of the day, when we win, I'll be friendly to you. I don't need to be everybody's friend. It seems like Jay Gruden wants to be everybody's friend.
Well, for everybody out there, I can't be everybody's friend. I want these guys to keep talking, but I got to pay some bills, and I am at the top. So we're going to take a break right now. We'll be back in a moment.
I'll have the langoustine lobster ravioli.
For you, sir? The original call was for langoustine ravioli. Langoustine is a tiny kind of lobster. Slight shellfish allergy rules that out. Plus, my wife ordered the langoustine. I will have chicken tenders and tater tots.
If you're a ref, you way over-explain things. It's what you do. If you want to save 15% or more on car insurance, you switch to Geico.
Sir, we don't have tater tots.
It's what you do.
I will have nachos.
A person here, Ray. Can you believe that he's from Battle Creek, Michigan? Tony McGee is from there too. Only two people from there. But Ray has a question for the panel.
Yeah, my question. I know Dexter and Charles may say it. That's cheesy to Tony, but I was going to just ask Tony this question. There's two great people from Battle Creek with the name of Tony. One is Tony the Tiger. And one is Tony. You got it. That question was for Tony McGee, but yes.
You see how much I've known.
That's it.
Well, Tony the Tiger does kind of look like you a little bit.
An animal.
Ferocious.
I thank my homeboy for that question, and I tell you what, being from Battle Creek, Michigan is a big different thing, and a lot of people laugh at it. But the one thing about we feed the world. We don't just feed the community. Let's talk about feeding the community and talk about this defense. And this is what I really, really want to ask you guys, because we all did play defense. It looked to me as if this defense plays well in the first half. Then the third quarter, they start getting worse. And by the fourth quarter, it's nothing there. And look at Gary, I know
30 points a game, talking about that.
Well, a lot of them come in the end. Do you think it's conditioning, or do you think it's technique, or do you think it's a change in the players?
I'll leave that to the defensive guys to answer that question.
No, you can answer it.
Well, from what I've seen is that I like Greg Minuski because he came from different places.
Exactly.
He was very aggressive on defense. I think he want to run that type of defense here, but I think you need the personnel.
Thank you.
You need personnel. I don't think the personnel is there. When I watch the front seven, they can't get to the quarterback, and especially the down three guys, it seems like they catching blocks. They're not attacking. I never did like a 34 front, but so I just don't see them creating havoc.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've been a defensive guy, but being a receiver, and guys always ask me, who was the toughest corner you went against? And I said, any corner you could put out there with a great front seven, he's the toughest corner.
Right.
And so regardless of who you have covering somebody, if those guys up front getting to the quarterback, it's going to be a hard task getting open. And that's what we don't have.
I've been telling
That's
Gerald
what- that's
Green
what
that
we
for
don't
years,
have.
that I made him. I'm going to see.
Well, wait a minute. I told him I made him.
Yeah, well, we both made
Wait a
him.
minute. And Mike Haynes, you remember Mike Haynes up in New England?
Unfortunately, I remember Mike Haynes.
Yeah.
But that's a great point that Santana had. As good as your front seven is, that's what makes the cornerback. But at the same time, as good as your back, your defensive backs are, that makes the front seven better.
Yeah.
So what they need to do is schematically work these people together.
No doubt.
Even though they may not have all the people there, once again I say, whoever goes in the game, they're being paid.
And it's your job to be the guy once they put you into the game.
Greg Minuski, he was here
Greg
with the
is a good
Redskins
coach.
when Gary
I
and
remember.
I were here. And, he's a special teams player and backup on linebacker. And I like his attitude. I mean, I know him. I remember him. And I like the way his attitude on the sideline and everything. But I don't think he has,
personnel.
I think Santana's right, and the personnel's not there. But a coach has to motivate, and a coach has to encourage, and a coach has to place you in the right position. A lot of times, we saved the coach when we made plays, but a lot of times the coaches put us in great position to make plays. So, but I'll say this about a player, and I'm not going to name the player, but a good example is we had a player in our team that wasn't very smart. No, it wasn't you, Dexter. Anyway, and this guy, so the coaches started making plays to put that player in the right position so that he could succeed. And this player was a great player on another team, and he came to our team in the first year. He just couldn't get it because our defense was too complicated. Spike gap, fielder free, spike gap, tangle, fielder free. We had some crazy defenses. Remember some of the? You don't remember?
I've had a couple of brain surgery. I don't remember
Okay,
anything.
all right, that's right. I got you. Anyway, so my point is the coach needs to put you in a position to succeed, whatever kind of player you are.
Yeah.
And he needs to know, the coach needs to know, okay, these guys aren't as good. Okay, this guy isn't as good as a pass rusher. Okay, this guy isn't as good at two-gapping and taking on the block. Okay, so now we're going to cover for him.
Yeah.
You got 11 players out there. Doggone it, somebody cover for somebody.
I agree with you to an extent, but at the same time, Minuski seemed to have put them in that position. It seems as though as the game go on that the players start to wear down. And to me, that goes back to training camp and conditioning and weekly practice.
I think it goes to 3 and out on the offense.
Yeah.
So I used to get mad at the doggone offense.
That didn't happen
Jeff
too often.
Jeff Bostic would be going in the weight room on Monday morning. We had a time at 7 o'clock in the morning on Monday mornings to lift weights after a game. And I go in there and I'd be tired and struggling, and Jeff would be up there just knocking. I'm like, man, look at you. Yeah, because he only played 35 plays. I played 80. And then he would say, well, get them off the field.
So that's why Gary Clark.
Clark.
That's why Gary Clark was always rested and having a good time because they only played. I know. I'm just messing.
Yeah.
Let's go to the office a little bit. And this gentleman out in the audience asked a very pertinent question at this time. Is Cousins the right person for this team? I just want you guys' opinions. First, you receive.
I think if we keep the offense that we run now, I think he fits the offense perfectly because it's the type of offense that we run. In another offense, maybe not, but in the offense that we run now.
Do he want to be here?
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not
Santana
sure.
may know about that
Yeah,
better than me. I'm not sure. But I also think Cope would do a good job too.
It's a great question, and I've been pondering that all year long. Is he the guy? I like him personally. I had a chance to play with him from 2012 to 2014, and I always thought he was better than RG3 when it comes to pocket passing. I knew RG3 was exceptional for what he can do with his legs. So whenever we needed that pocket passer, he was the guy.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I question is this: does he hold back every now and then? I don't see the big you know, those big shots at times. You know, when you have a guy like Dawson, he's the guy that he shows you time and time again, throw it up. He can go up there and get it. So when I watched him play, I question sometimes, does he step up when those guys come around and they rush up outside? He seems like he sits there at times. And then yesterday he stepped up and made a play on 4th down. So you need to see more of that so we can say that he's the guy. But I think he has all the intangibles, and I think he can be a great quarterback for this team. But to me, the question is, do they have enough to pay him for him to stay?
That's going to be a big question. Speaking of questions, let's go to Donna Hopkins. I think she have another one out there.
Yeah, Tony, do they have enough to pay him without mortgaging the rest of the team that they need to fill some holes as far as the offensive line? And going back to that defense, Gary, you're right. 30 points in 7 straight games they gave up. Last 2 games, they've been beat by 17 points. So I would say it's a little bit on both sides of the ball. A question here from William.
I was just wondering when y'all going to suit up and get back out there to help them.
They
need help.
William, should I take my walker with me or what? Right, they won't help, not hindrance.
I got a portable oxygen tank.
Right.
With me.
And you know, when you look at these guys, and that's a great question. When I look at you guys, and let's just get in the locker room again. You know, I remember you guys. I mean, Dexter, and for all of you that do not realize, for a lineman other than myself, to run 4.5 is outstanding. Yeah, I ran 4.5. I ran a 10.2. Now, you want to get out in the street, we can do it now. But you look at these guys. I remember Gary Clark be over there arguing with Gibbs and dragging his leg all week. Then he come out and kill people. I remember Santana Moss. He was tough. He go across that middle. And you, Charles, I remember your biggest move was that inside move. But then you look at now, and you look at these players, and I don't see those techniques. Not just on the Washington Redskins. I don't see it around the league. Like, you know, you guys, all of you, if an offensive lineman gets you where you stop your feet, you've lost the game. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you guys can't get off the line of scrimmage and make it double, you've lost the game. I see that repeatedly.
Like it just comes back to preparation, you know. I think,
and not just with the Redskins. I'm talking about around the league.
I think, you know, I mean, preparation in terms of like what you do before practice, what you do after practice has a lot to do with how well you play in the game. And then I think some players, you know, I think when practice is over, your typical practice is over, they go into the locker room and they go home. And if you want to perfect your craft, you can't do that. You have to work on those things.
I ain't mean to cut you off. Football has changed, though.
Yes, it has.
And I can say that, you know, being a guy that just recently removed from those locker rooms, 2014.
What's changed?
2014.
Attitude.
I mean, the guys are coming in because they feel like just being a part of that team is okay. You know, just being just saying I made it. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with being second and third. You know, you don't see too many guys fighting for jobs no more. When I came in 2001, you know, it was grown men out there, and I understand why he didn't give up no information, because those guys really felt like, you know what, you trying to come take my livelihood. Yeah. And to me, these guys ain't come to take nothing. Well, these guys just want to be a part of it.
Exactly. When you talk about livelihood, when I played, they had us a job in all season. These guys now, they get paid for potential. Speaking of potential, we're going to have to take a break right now because you know what? I'm not going to get paid if we don't keep taking these breaks. But I tell you what, guys, you're exactly right. Guys played for their families. We'll be back in a moment.
It takes hard work, grit, and determination to become a professional football player like Luke Kuechly. But it only takes 15 minutes to see how much you could save on car insurance with Geico.
We're proud to announce Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus Scholarship Contest is back yet again this year. Eligible candidates will receive laptops if indeed your composition is selected. If you are graduating high school senior, send in your composition. The subject this year is what can your generation do to impact how social media has affected our nation's security. So get those essays in.
Hey, Tony, before I get to Jeff's question, which is a good segue into what you all were just talking about, is that DJ Swearinger talked about the fact of the Redskins not being prepared or preparing well during the week, which shows on the field. But he said that that's because of questions being asked by the coach and the players before they get ready to play. He said a lot in his statement about just where this team is. Now to Jeff for a question for you all.
My question, first of all, Mr. McGee and also AUSA, thank you for hosting this event for our veterans. As a 20-year Army veteran myself, I say thank you. My question to the panel is, with the concussion protocol in the NFL, do you really think that it works, especially with the short evaluation time that they put on each player?
That's a very good question, and I tell you what, you guys know it. And I don't know if it worked, but it's better than it was when we played.
Yeah.
That's all we can go on, because if you guys remember, I remember a lot of times. I remember one time I was playing against Earl Campbell, and I did everything right, and I hit his thigh with my head. He's laughing, because he knows. That was in the first quarter. About the third quarter, I had just woke up and had played the whole game. And so, you know, I don't, and they used to tell us, you got a ding or you got this, and they send you right back out on the field. And I know everybody up here has had concussions. What they're doing now may not be working as, he asked the question, it may not be the best, but it's better than we were.
Yeah, let me elaborate on that. I tell you, back in the mid-'80s, see, the coaches wasn't sort of educated on it, because say he's my coach. I can't go to this guy and say, hey, coach, I feel dinging. He say, you're a wussy.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden they challenge you. They say, well, you're a wussy, you can't play. Next thing you know, they want to sit you on the side. They want to cut you. Now they can't do it. The coach has been educated enough to say that, okay, you got a dinger, sit down. Yeah. See, they can't just say cut you, because in the back in the day, they'll cut you and they'll challenge your manhood.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, they say, well, you soft and you not this. And so they're educating these coaches now. And then, again, they have people on the sideline to say, a doctor, if they could tell if you've been dinged up, they evaluate you right away. And so they've come a long ways, but I still think that they still got some more room to grow.
Yeah, they got a lot of room to grow. I do remember those days. I didn't play with you guys, but I remember my childhood years of playing football. If you got a stinger or a ding, you better play through it, because that makes you tough.
Yeah.
And so I carry that same mentality, that even to this day when I see guys that's not injured, like if you ain't breaking nothing, get off that ground and get on the sideline and go see what's going on. Like I would not want to lay on that ground if I'm not injured. So I've had plenty of dingers and you name them, you know, hearing bells, and never knew they was concussions until we started saying, oh, it's this thing called concussions. And that's after I done played 10 years in this league, you know? So now when I finally get concussed, I'm like, man, well, this is a concussion. I done had 10 or 5 or 10 or 15 of these already. But so I do think they've made a lot of, you know, progress with what they're doing now. I still believe that, you know, these kids are, you know, too big, too fast, too strong. You're going to get them. You're going to, you know, you can't prevent them. But
too out of shape.
I'm liking that they're making those steps, taking those steps to trying to solve the problem.
You know what I said?
Hey, I was on the defense, so I didn't have any concussions.
Well, I did.
I gave concussions.
Yeah. Well, see, that's why you sent me away from here. I took concussions. But let me ask you this: and speaking of injuries, let's jump to the Philadelphia quarterback. Remind a lot of people RG3 when he first got hurt, and now this team was rolling, and they lose that quarterback. How substantial do you think that's going to be at Winston? And they don't know how serious it is, but they do have someone can come in, but to lose your quarterback this stage of the game. I remember one year, and I don't know if you guys were here. Remember when we lost Art Monk right before the Super Bowl? And we had guys that stepped right in, Alvin Garrett and stuff. But do you think that can happen with this Philadelphia team? Because right now they are the best team in the NFL.
Well, the backup is Foles, right?
New England,
and he
New
won
England's
the
the
game.
best team in the NFL.
Yeah,
regardless.
Yeah,
New England's the best team in the NFL.
I don't think so.
I don't think so
Who think New England's the best team?
New England's the best team in the NFL.
Who think Philadelphia's the best team?
Yeah! You think Philadelphia beat New England in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think so.
Don't bet against Brady.
I believe Atlanta had them beat in the Super Bowl.
You don't bet against Brady. And then what happened? Brady. You don't bet against Brady.
Well, they start celebrating too early.
Brady's a wuss.
You don't bet. with five of them. They got 5 of them, though.
He is a.
They got 5 of
I
them.
think Wentz, though, is just as important to his team as Brady
without a
is to
doubt.
his.
I don't think they'd be the same team without him. I think they can still probably win with Foles, but I'm not sure if they can. Foles going to get pressured, and he's not going to be able to beat Wentz. You know, Wentz did some things this year that even in our first 2 games with those, you know, he did things that he did some of the things that we want to see from our quarterback. He made plays when he didn't have anything.
He's the most athletic white quarterback on the planet.
In a long time. Yeah.
That's kind of racist.
It can be as racist as you want to call it. He's the most
right.
athletic white quarterback on the planet.
Yeah.
You see what he did to make guys move.
Yeah.
With a flair to him, too.
Yes.
He has a certain arrogance at the position that you like to see in your quarterback.
You know what he has? He has a feel for the game.
Yeah. Yes.
And you know, they always say that the quarterback should be able to feel the defensive line coming or see and
Feel
look
the
people
pressure.
off. And he seems to make the right play at the right time all the time. Now, and Brady's sort of like that, but he, as you said, he's a great athlete. He's a great athlete.
Brady
Why are we
can't
talking
move.
about him?
Brady can't move.
Okay, we're going to have to take a break soon, but you guys think Dallas going to make it in?
Maybe.
What?
Maybe.
Dallas.
I wanted that one
Dallas
person to
will be
clap
home
out there.
for the weekend,
Wait,
home for the holidays, just like us.
Listen,
Maybe,
Dallas will be home. Who's that one person?
That lady back here, that red hair.
They're not out of it. They're not out of it.
They're not out of it. They're
I think we got
dangerous.
Donna over here waiting to get in.
Oh, but let's see. Donna, you have a question for us.
Yeah, Tony, I have Rosemary here, but you know what? I had a concussion one time. You know, my dad told me to stay out of that tree, and I wanted to broad jump. Next thing I knew, I was telling my brother to put me down. Had a concussion, knocked out. Rosemary.
Hi. I want to know, do you all think, how does these players practice during the week for the teams? Because it seems like everybody we play, they have their best game on us, and then when they go play somebody else, they have one of the worst games.
Yeah.
That's
called the human highlight reel.
Right.
We're on everybody's highlight reel.
We're stat weeks.
Wait a minute. We that
You gonna give
team
them
at the
stats
beginning
every
of the
week.
year for all of you fans out there. You get the schedule and you look down and you look at the game. You know you can win.
Yeah.
We always on the side that we look for who we knew we could beat, but now we on the side where they look at us as one of them to be beat.
Yeah, man.
And that's not a good feeling. We laugh about it, but it's really the character of this team has always been a strong character. And I tell you what, right now they got to fight to get it back. I don't know if they got a clean house or what, but they got to get that attitude that we had when all you guys, when we were winning games and winning championships.
How do we start getting, Gary, this is to Gary, how do we start getting home field advantage back? We went to the alumni weekend game, so we were playing Dallas. There were more, I was in a suite and I was talking to somebody and all of a sudden I heard a yell, so I got all excited. I looked up out of the suite and it was Dallas scoring and they were yelling, we don't have home field
You know how
advantage
you get it
anymore."
back? You win some games.
Is that what it's gonna
That's
take?
what you do. Win some games.
It's like Joe said,
Speaking of winning some
cures
games,
everything.
Yeah.
you know, that's one thing about it. And one thing we know, you fans out there are still for us, but he's right. There's a lot more people in the stands that should not be there. We shouldn't be here right now. We'll be back in a minute.
Coney Island has been around for a long, long time. Reminds me of how Geico has been saving people money for over 75 years.
First date? Hey, big guy, come on in. Let me guess your weight. Win a prize.
Sure, why not?
12 ounces?
Sorry, mate, 4 ounces. I've been taking the stairs lately.
You win, big guy.
Sorry. Excuse me.
Wow, he looks so much more real on TV.
Yeah. Over 75 years of savings and service. Get your rate quote today.
The Ravens, never fleeting, still are winning, still are winning. But when the pests come knock, knock, knocking at your door, and the bees that bumble sound like the roar of the stadium's rumble, and you see the ants and roaches creeping and crawling as the moonlight hits the floor, have no fear, for PMSI will rid you of those pests to scamper and scatter on your floor. Once they treat, nevermore.
Hey, Tony, Mike here with me. He's had a hard season also because he's a Giants fan, just like the Redskins fans, and he thinks that Eli may be in Jacksonville next year. Mike, question for the panel?
So I got a question. In the military and the NFL, we're similar in a lot of ways. And speaking of leadership and motivation, so in the military, we have an issue right now with people that are, a portion of our population is non-deployable, which means they can't go to a combat operation and do their job. So they're sitting on the sidelines and getting paid. And it seems like the NFL's injury report is growing every single week. Is there something we can do together to figure out how do we get motivation and pride back in not just the NFL, not just the military, but in society in general?
Oh, that's a great question. And you know, you see that on both sides. And you know, I even know situations where people need a job, but they don't want it, and they just take the easy way out. How can we do that? And he said it right, not just for football, but for everything.
I think it starts in your household when you're kids, when you're how you brought up.
Exactly.
Day. I mean, I think our generation, whether it was winning, was just big to me. Like, don't get me wrong, much revenue we can make, you know, that's great. Money that you generate, that's great. But for me, winning and losing, it was kind of based in my household right from the very beginning. Winning's great, losing sucks. There's no in between.
That's the leadership part of it.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. So I think a lot of it starts with how you brought up into your family as well, like, you know, and.
But once you're out there, what can you do? What can we do, not just for ourselves, but for the individuals around us that we can help? I think something like what we're doing now is a step in the right direction. But we, as vets from military or vets from football, to help our brethren, how can we help them? And I think that's what his question is.
I think, you know, it starts with the thing I miss. People ask me all the time, do you miss the game? I don't miss football, but I miss the camaraderie. Mm-hmm. So I don't miss the game. I don't miss the practices. I miss the money, but I really miss the camaraderie. And so that togetherness, for 6 months, we were hanging out together. We were boys. You know, I was with the guys. And so in that relationship, you can call people up. You know, I was being funny earlier saying, Gary, get in your face in a minute if you ain't playing, because he wants to win. And so we need guys to get in other people's faces it's your team. Joe Gibbs, he was so smart. He took about the 12 to 14 natural leaders on the team and made them lead the team. Joe Gibbs led at a high level. He didn't lead down in the locker room. It was about 12 to 14 of us, Gary being one, Art Monk being a quiet leader, Joe Jacoby, Russ Grimm, Monty Coleman, Darryl Green. We were the leaders, and we're the ones that called guys out. We called guys you better play. And then Joe would use little techniques like, hey, I'm going to give you Monday and Tuesday off if you win. You know, we would kill to get Monday and Tuesday off.
It's the best
so what you're saying
did.
is holding people accaccountable.
Well, the players got to hold the other players accountable. The coach would give little incentives. I would do almost anything to get an extra day off. We got 1 day off in the league during the season, and that was Tuesdays. So in order to get Monday and Tuesday off, and then he'd always say on Wednesday it's going to be a full day because you got to watch the film, we got to grade it, and then we go on and start preparing for the next week.
I think it's future generations you have to kind of.
There you go.
You have to look at the future generations.
You got to try to change their mindset.
Yeah, I mean, because your mindset now is just your mindset, unfortunately, for a lot of people here too. So, you know, participation trophies and things like that in terms of like everybody wins when everybody doesn't win in reality. You started in school, you know, like my son's basketball team, they were horrible. They all got a trophy. And like, why?
Yeah.
They lost. They didn't win a game.
They
don't keep the score.
That's
like,
what Harrison in Pittsburgh did, that same thing.
That's
He said, like you said, if they didn't deserve it, but the question was, how can we get back to helping people and helping us get leaders. And then we had a question out there from Richard about if your team is down. Well, the team for us now is the community. We are down as a community. We need to develop that closeness, holding each other accountable, trying to do right by other individuals and have them do right by you. And that'll help with everything.
Leadership and motivation.
Exactly.
The leaders that motivate, because those people that are already caught in their way, unless you're able to motivate them to change that the way they are, nothing's going to be challenged.
You know why
those
we
leaders
won?
that motivate.
But you know why we won, Gary, during our years, all those championships? Because you have to pick the right kind of leaders. You got to pick the right kind of players. If, you know, I wasn't that good of a player, and I'm smart enough to know that. I wasn't that good. But what I did have was an intangible that I was going to work my butt off to be as good as a Dexter Manley or as good as a Tony McGee. I was going to work my butt off. Joe Gibbs was able to figure out, you know what, Charles, man, small school, undersized, but I like what he's about. I like how he thrives to succeed, and then so you got to pick the right players first. And it's not all about X's and O's. It's about what kind of a person are they? Will they be good in the locker room? In the off season, we had off season. We could be off. We are off 6 months. Guess what? Every time we worked out, we got an X. There was a chart, an off-season chart, and we had X's every time we worked out. I wouldn't miss more than 5 or 6 X's in a whole off season.
Let's see, that's what
I was scared to lose my job.
Yeah. Leadership. And you know, Richard, that answers your question. On a team with anyone, within the military, on a football team, or within a business, your leadership is what's going to make it happen. And you have to have that leadership, and you have to spread that throughout everybody that's involved with that. You try to get the negativity out, which you're not going to always do. But you do it on a football team, you win championships. You do it as a military, and you win battles. You do it in your business, and you're successful. So what it is, leadership is very important. And with this team right now, the Washington Redskins, we're not saying the leadership is wrong, but it's something they got to do to make it right.
You have leaders, and then you have followers. And right now, when you look at the outcomes of many of our games, is a lot of followers, because no one have really took the initiative to lead and say, man, this is what we got to do. See, if you're going to lead, to me, I think Swearinger is trying to show that hey, I'm going to lead and get this word out here, because I don't see a lot of these guys.
We need 10 more Swearingers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You also got to see the guys. You got to see the guys. You know, there's certain guys that come out and they try to lead, but people don't follow.
Yeah.
For whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like the best thing about you, Charles, is Joe didn't make you lead. You just started to lead one day, and we follow because you started to lead. We respect certain people that can come out and lead, and some people can come out and they can talk and they can say everything that they want to say, and I'll look at you and I'll be like, I ain't doing nothing you tell me to do.
Art Monk. So I have the saying in life: most things in life are caught, not taught.
Okay.
So they catch behavior. If you wanted to work out, if you wanted to train with Art Monk in the off season, you showed up at George Mason University at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. He's going to be out there. Every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. You don't have to call him, hey, brother, you going to be there? I'm going to work out with you. No, you just show up. Art's going to be there.
Okay.
That's catching the great behavior instead of having to talk it.
All right, let's take one more break and get out of this. But one thing that you guys said, I want to know, was Charles a leader before they got rid of me or after? We'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, I just saved a whole lot of money by switching to Geico.
Huh. We should take a closer look at Geico.
You know, Geico insures way more than cars, boats, motorcycles, even RVs.
Geico insures RVs? What's an RV?
The thing we've been stuck on for 5 years.
Wait, I'm not a real moose?
We've been over this, Jeff.
We're stickers.
I'm not a real moose.
Give him some space.
Deep breaths, Jeff.
What's a sticker?
Take a closer look at Geico. Great savings and a whole lot more.
Welcome to the Sports Bar Challenge. In this week's game, we have the Oakland Raiders hosting the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Crystal City Restaurant likes the Cowboys. Crystal City Sports Pub likes the Raiders. Fairfax Hard Times likes the Cowboys. Greavy's likes the Raiders. Outback Steakhouse likes the Raiders. And Harry's likes the Raiders. Look for this to be a tough, hard-fought game with both teams looking towards the playoffs. But look for Dallas to come out on top here. I like the Cowboys.
Hi, my name is Zach Pierleonardi with PMSI, hosting the What's Bugging You segment today. And today I'm here to talk about termites. It may be cold in the wintertime, but termites can still come into your basement, still run rampant, tear up that wood. If the sun comes out and hits them on their bodies, that'll kill them. So they have to make these shelter tubes in your basement, and it doesn't matter if it's cold or hot, they're going to get there and they're going to eat that wood. But today, to go over what's bugging you, we have two-time Super Bowl champ Clarence Vaughn.
Thanks, Zach. This is Clarence Vaughn with Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate Company. And what's bugging me about the NFL is that they like to pass. Get back to the run. That's what's bugging me.
Ah, the Ravens, never fleeting, still are winning, still are winning. But when the pests come knocking at your door, and the bees that bumble sound like the roar of the stadium's rumble, and you see the ants and roaches creeping and crawling as the moonlight hits the floor, have no fear, for PMSI will rid you of those pests to scamper and scatter on your floor. Once they treat, nevermore.
In the spirit of giving, and as the year comes to an end, please consider my foundation, Hopkins Breast Cancer Incorporation, a 501c3 charitable foundation here in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area that aids in helping those that's going through breast cancer. Come and be a part of a great team with your gift of any amount. What a wonderful way to share holiday cheer and hope with those going through breast cancer. Make an impact. Tell your friends and family and supporters that you're changing lives by donating to helping those going through cancer. Please visit my website at www.hopkinsbcinc, the helping hand in the cancer community.
Wilson! Hey, Tony, what is up? Remember Allen Iverson, the NBA great who never won a championship? Word has it, he used to hate to practice. Now, I find out that he and the Redskins have a whole lot in common. Now, according to DJ Swearinger, the Redskins coaches and players do not prepare properly before games. So you guys got to remember the 6 P's. Prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. Practice. The Redskins need to practice. I'm talking about practice, man. Y'all need to practice. Practice.
No, Tony, William didn't believe anything you all said, so he had to come back. He spent 8 years in the U.S. Navy. Your question again for the panel.
How hard is it for y'all to find decent employment after football? Because the only thing y'all mainly know is football, and then with us in the military, a lot of jobs that we do is just strictly for the military. So we get out and we can't find decent employment, and it's like we're starting all over again.
Exactly. That's a great question. And you know, when I look at it, when we came out, sometimes, just like you guys heard me say that Charles just got his master's, and sometimes we have to try to find a field to work ourselves into, and there's not a lot of them out there, but at the same time, what we do is take that same kind of spirit and that want that we have for football, and we utilize that to try to get in some fields. You know, if people start their own business, they get involved with what they were going to get involved with. The only thing about it, by the time we get in it, it's been people out there doing it for 10 or 12 years, so it makes it very difficult.
Let me elaborate on that. I tell you, 1985, November the 16th, we're playing a Monday Night Football. And this sort of sparked me a little bit to sort of take the Boy George makeup off. See, I watched a guy go down, he never played another down. This was Joe Theis when he got hit. Yeah, I stood on that sideline and I stayed in belligerent denial. See, I went to college, I couldn't read or write, and I was just fearful that what's gonna happen to me if that was what happened to Joe Theismann. And so it created a lot of fear and trepidation. And after that, I was so petrified, I went to the lab school. No, I'm gonna back up.
No, we got to go forward.
Okay.
We only got about 30 seconds.
Okay, well, I'm through.
That's the way you did. I did it like that. But you guys know how it is, and we only got a couple of minutes here, but it is hard to make that transition, and not just for us, it's hard for the vets as well. And you know, with that being said, I was going to ask how do think the Redskins are going to do the rest of the year, but I think what they need to do is clean up their act. But what I want to do before we get out of here is thank you guys for being here, and thank you for all the businesses that were involved, and thank you for the Association of the United States Army for having us here, as well as Caliber. And I thank you people, because you know what, this is just not something that we're doing now. We want to do this in the future. But we can't do it without you guys, and we can't do it without the vets trying. And that goes back to that question was asked. Is it hard to get out there and try to find employment? Yes, it is, but we make it easier because we are going to be there, and we're going to try to help people. And I encourage all of you to do the same. Everyone's in this room today. See what we can do to help vets, help military vets as well as help NFL vets, or just veterans of life. And that's what we try to help. Thank you all for being here. You guys have anything you want to say about the Redskins? We got 27. 20.
I hope we win.
I think they're going to run the table.
All right,
3
that's
in a
the
row.
thing. We're going to run the table. So I tell you what, we're going to run out of here right now. And one thing we do, thank you fans for watching. And as I say, I don't never say goodbye. I say in the minute.
I'll have the langoustine lobster ravioli.
For you, sir?
The original call was for langoustine ravioli. Langoustine is a tiny kind of lobster. Slight shellfish allergy rules that out. Plus, my wife ordered the langoustine. I will have chicken tenders and tater tots.
If you're a ref, you way over-explain things. It's what you do. If you want to save 15% or more on car insurance, you switch to Geico.
Sir, we don't have tater tots.
It's what you do.
I will have nachos.
We're proud to announce Tony McGee's Pro Football Plus Scholarship Contest is back yet again this year. Eligible candidates will receive laptops if indeed your composition is selected. If you are graduating high school senior, send in your composition. The subject this year is what can your generation do to impact how social media has affected our nation's security? So get those essays in.